Warning, this episode may contain disturbing content, soothing narration, and mild existential dread. Basically, murder ASMR for stressed professionals. Listener discretion is advised. Hell, it might be necessary.
You've heard the old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. And when things don't go Sarah Hartsfield's way, baby, there is always smoke, and usually a suspiciously well-timed fire to go with it. After Sarah's first alleged attempt at arson, things went quiet for a while. The calm before a Category 5 level storm, a Sarah storm. Her kids later said that her deployment to Iraq changed something in her, and not in the came home wiser and stronger way. More like the quick-tempered, physically abusive, no one breathed wrong around her way. Then her grandmother passed away, and Sarah believed the inheritance should have gone to her because...
reasons.
But it went to her brother instead. So Sarah did what any reasonable, level-headed person would do. She raided the house for valuables, and then the house just happened to burn down to the ground that very night.
Oops.
Investigators couldn't prove it was her. But let's just say no one on Earth has ever said, wow, what an unpredictable coincidence that was. But buckle up, because Grandma's house was not the last suspicious fire in Sarah's orbit. Because while she was at the funeral, she reconnected with an old high school friend, Brian Altus. A guy who, unfortunately for him, had absolutely no idea he was about to wander face first into a romantic wood chipper. Sarah told him that she was getting divorced. She laid on the charm and the flattery and the romance, and Brian fell hard. But as we now know, with Sarah, the charming version only lasts as long as she's getting exactly what she wants. And once things started to sour, Brian wanted out. But Sarah? Oh no, she was not about to release her grip. Girl was determined to hold on to that man like he was the last lifeboat on the Titanic. And what followed was a series of events that would teach Brian a brutal, unforgettable lesson about getting a little too close to the flames, both figuratively and literally. Today we're diving further into Sarah's twisted tale of relationships, all the red flags, all the fires, and the men who tried to escape her gravitational pull. Some got out with a warning, but not everyone was so lucky. This is part 3 of Burn, Marry, Kill, the finale of The Wicked Web of Sarah Hartsfield, right now on Crime to Burn. Welcome to Crime to Burn, where we explore the dark, sooty landscape where true crime intersects with arson and criminal negligence. Join us as we sift through the ashes to bring you the story of what really happened. Welcome back to Crime to Burn. I'm April, a fire protection engineer, a former firefighter, and the woman with the kind of perspective that might have saved Sarah's
poor black heart.
And a woman with the kind of perspective that might have saved Sarah Hartsfield's exes a whole lot of turmoil and several insurance deductibles.
And I'm hailing from the depths of Laughing Horse's orifice. This is a cry for help.
Thank you for joining us today. Before we dive in, do us a favor and rate this podcast 5 stars and leave a comment or written review. We don't have a PR team, we have you. Those ratings and reviews are how we grow, and we honestly cannot do it without you. It is the #1 most helpful thing that you can do for us. If you'd like to support the show financially, you are absolutely not obligated, but you are welcome to join us over at the Cult of Steve on Patreon. We have a brand new unhinged theme song for our Steve-isodes, which are exclusive bonus episodes for our beloved cult members, and the newest Steve-isode will be out as soon as I finish editing it, and let me tell you, it is pure, unfiltered chaos. You can also treat yourself or emotionally blackmail your friends with some merch from our spread shop. The links to both the Patreon and spread shop are in the show notes. I've taken a little time off social media to pursue an unnecessary and completely unhinged side project, but as I crawl back into the algorithm battlefield, please do follow us on X, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Like, comment, share, all that good stuff. Those interactions help us catch the algorithm like a spark in a windstorm. And you can see my latest post featuring Crime to Burn on the front page of a newspaper, which I'm still not emotionally over on any of those platforms. And finally, thank you to everyone who emailed or messaged this week. We love hearing from you. And if you want to join the chaos, you can always reach us anytime at crimetoburn@gmail.com. I had an in-depth conversation with a listener recently about whether psychopaths are the result of nature, meaning they're born that way, or nurture. My take is that genetics may load the gun, but environment pulls the trigger. And I'm curious, what do you think? So comment on this episode and let us know. Do you think psychopaths are born or made?
I welcome the environment to pull my trigger.
Now, let's slip back into Brian Altus's pants, which is where we left Sarah Hartsfield.
No thanks. I'm gonna sit right here.
Now, let's slip back into Brian Altus's pants, where we last left Sarah Hartsfield, and see what fresh hell she was stitching together next.
Why would you leave her in someone's pants?
That's where we left off. She had just started an affair with Brian.
We left her in someone's pants
We
all
left her
week?
in someone's pants for a whole week.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah, it's probably sweaty in there now. Ugh.
It's like gooch sweat.
Mm-hmm.
Gross.
A quick reminder before we dive in, Sarah has only been convicted of a single crime, the murder of her husband Joe Hartsfield. Everything else we discuss today is alleged. The smoke is real, but whether there's fire, well, that's why we're here. Now, Brian Altus was involved with Sarah for 2 years, and on the Dateline special, he described her as beautiful, smart, kind, good in bed. All of the adjectives you might hear right before someone admits that they missed 1,000 red flags flapping violently in the wind. Now, he said that she made him feel important and loved and seen, and he was just too dazzled to see all of the manipulation creeping in.
You know what? Every time I feel seen, it's usually because there's like a flock camera or something, and it's not a good feeling.
Right. But eventually, things soured. Sarah got controlling and possessive, and Dateline didn't specify what exactly set it off, but it must have gotten pretty ugly because they took out restraining orders against each other, which for normal people would be the end of a relationship. But for Sarah doesn't do end, she does encore. And Brian was about to learn that. While he was in court, and it's unclear whether this was related to the restraining orders or something else, Dateline was maddeningly vague on this, someone delivered him an envelope from Sarah, and he opens it and immediately smells urine.
Neat.
Inside was a positive pregnancy test. Sarah was claiming that Brian had gotten her pregnant. Brian later said he immediately did not believe the pregnancy test and thought it was a scam to try to pull him back into Sarah's orbit. But then he made the least logical decision a man with a restraining order has ever made in the history of restraining orders. He invited her over to his house to talk, which is not how restraining orders are supposed to work, Brian. But don't worry, he didn't go to this showdown alone. He brought his sister, because nothing says this is going to end well like bringing extra potential victims to confront someone who you secretly suspect to be criminally unhinged. So Sarah arrives expecting to slither her way back into whatever outcome it is that she is angling for, but Brian is ready, and he hands her a fresh, unused pregnancy test and says, "Okay, prove it. Go take this right now."
Oh?
And Sarah loses it. Enraged.
What did she lose?
She refuses to take the pregnancy test. She is enraged that he doesn't trust her, offended, livid. They argue and have a very loud, emotional, and chaotic confrontation.
Oh dear.
Finally, she agrees to leave, but she has to use the bathroom first. And this is the moment where every single person watching Dateline was probably leaning forward going, no, don't let her in your bathroom. But Sarah goes to the bathroom with Brian's permission, and he said that he and his sister were sitting there looking at each other like, is she okay? She's been in there forever. But eventually she does come out and she leaves. And Brian and his sister both exhale a sigh of relief.
So, like, she couldn't take a and then...
Well, it just seemed like she was in the bathroom for an exceptionally long time.
She just didn't have enough fiber.
Yeah, we don't know exactly what she was doing in there, but we're going to have some suspicions in a minute. So eventually she comes out and she leaves, and Brian's sister leaves, and Brian breathes a huge sigh of relief, possibly dodging a bullet, feeling like he dodged a bullet, which maybe have been more accurate than he realized. And then Brian heads straight to the bar to meet up with some friends. And while he's there, about 20 minutes after he gets there, he said somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes, he gets a phone call. His house, the one where he had just been fighting with Sarah and the one where she'd spent a mysteriously concerning long time in the bathroom, is now on fire. Now, Brian admits, no one has ever proven that the fire was arson or that Sarah set it. There was never enough evidence to pin anything on her or anyone else. But the timing and the circumstances and the pattern that we're seeing emerge, this is the kind of coincidence that starts feeling less like fate and more like a signature. And the pregnancy? Well, Sarah never had another baby. And if she were genuinely pregnant, she probably would have been willing to take that test. The lack of a baby strongly suggests that the whole thing was a manipulation tactic. And when that tactic failed, did Sarah decide to strike back? Could she, a former Army intelligence officer, have rigged something in that bathroom to ignite later? I admit that's a stretch. But is it any more of a stretch than the fire that destroyed her brother's house after a dispute, or the time she was literally caught splashing gasoline on the house that her ex-husband and his girlfriend were in? At some point, repeated coincidences start looking like a pattern. And this pattern is escalating. It's getting hotter, and it's starting to take on a very distinct crimson flag shape. But despite losing his house, Brian Altus told Dateline that he felt like he had dodged a bullet. But not all of Sarah's boyfriends would escape with the same level of relief. Like Sarah's next boyfriend, a man named David Bragg. Now, David cannot tell us what drew him to Sarah for reasons that will soon become very clear, but we do know this. David was married and had 2 kids when he met her. And according to his family, his relationship with Sarah, who was actually still married to Chris Donahue at this time, is what detonated David's marriage. David worked in construction and at the time was working at Fort Hood, where Sarah was living, on a project, and he met Sarah while he was there, and it seems the two of them began having a torrid affair.
Is Fort Hood in
Texas.
Right.
So then Chris Donahue gets stationed in Korea, and Sarah stays home in Texas with their kids. But as soon as Chris was wheels up for South Korea, David Bragg moved right in. And Sarah's daughter, Ashley, told Dateline that her mom claimed to her that David was just staying with them and he was sleeping in the front bedroom. But Ashley didn't believe her, not for 1 second. So one night she pulls open the door to the spare bedroom and yanks back the covers and finds that it's pillows arranged to look like a human being is sleeping there.
Like Ferris Bueller would do.
Exactly. Now, when your kids are staging pillow sting operations, you know something has gone very wrong. So Ashley tells her dad, and Chris was able to get leave from the military and fly halfway around the world, where he literally walked into his bedroom and found his wife in his bed with another man.
Ouch.
With 2 marriages torched, both Sarah and David decided to keep dating. But when David's project at Fort Hood ended, he ended up going to Wisconsin for his next job, and he and Sarah decided to get married once her divorce was final. And they found a nice little farmhouse, and they began planning a renovation. Now look, home renovations will strain even the healthiest of relationships. And when you add Sarah to the mix, you might as well call your insurance company preemptively. So their landlord, because they were renting to own this house, said that while Sarah was in Texas visiting her kids, she was expecting David to have made some progress on their kitchen renovation. But instead, David took the money they'd set aside and used it to cut some sort of path through the woods. And Sarah was livid when she got home. And so not long after that, David told his family that he realizes that he's made a mistake and that Sarah isn't the woman that he thought she was. And then David Bragg was dead. Shot. A gunshot wound that Sarah admits she is the one who inflicted it. And her story was that David became furious with her because she had allowed her ex, Chris Donahue, who may actually still be her husband at this point, it's really hard to tell, but she lets Chris come and see the kids outside of their scheduled visitation, and that argument escalated. So Sarah told police that she was coming down the stairs when David fired at her first, and she dove toward the floor, and as she's diving, she brings her hand up over the stair railing with her own gun and shoots him.
That's gangster.
Wait. Miraculously, she hits him with a perfect shot to the heart, dead center of mass.
Well, she's military intelligence. What do you expect, man?
While she's diving with her hand up over a railing, not aiming.
She could have had one finger in her butt and done it.
So it was like an action movie where, you shoot the gas tank and it always makes the car explode and the hero always hits his mark no matter how absurdly impossible the shot is.
My God, it's Jason Bourne.
And in true action movie fashion, there's more. Sarah's younger kids actually were waiting in the car during all of this. She told them to stay put while she went inside to grab something, and then she retrieves 2 guns from the car. One she tucks in her waistband and the other she straps to her ankle.
Oh, shit, man. She's getting serious. She's going to come out akimbo.
So she told police that David attacked her. She pulled her gun. He took it from her and fired at her, missing. And that's when she grabbed her second gun and shot him.
Whoa. Slow down there, cowboy.
Okay. It's a lot, right?
Yeah. She fired at him and he took her gun?
No. She said she had to pull her gun because he was threatening her. And
so she had to pull her gun.
She pulls her gun out of her waistband.
And he took it from her.
And he took it from her. And so she runs upstairs, and she's trying to come downstairs to get back out to the car to her kids. And that's when he shoots at her. She grabs her second gun and dives.
Because
I guess he's still mad. Yeah.
Because he's mad.
Yeah. She painted him as an abusive partner.
Abusive shooty partner.
Yeah.
Got it.
Now, what's interesting is when the police arrived, the gun that David supposedly fired at her, it didn't have a magazine in it.
What kind of gun was it?
I don't know. It was something that should have had a magazine in it.
I'm wondering if it had a magazine disconnect.
Oh, that I don't know. But I'll see if I can find it and get back to you. How about that?
Because if it didn't have a magazine disconnect, it could have just had a round. Mm-hmm. Right?
And maybe that's why, because wait till you hear what police say about this.
And this is me being devil's advocate to the core.
Yeah. And so David's family feels like this no magazine in the gun makes her he fired first claim less believable. But despite all of that, police eventually ruled that the shooting was self-defense, case closed. David was dead, and so Sarah kept living in the house where she shot him. They cleaned up the blood, and there was a big stain left on the carpet, and so she just casually rearranged the furniture to cover it up because, that's a little interior decorating inspired by mortal violence.
Well, what would you do?
I would have moved out. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to live with the blood stain on the carpet, but if I had to stay in the house, if I didn't have any options for another place to go, I would have replaced the carpet. That would have been the bare minimum, not just stuck a chair over it. So, let's just take a moment to tally up where we are in the Sarah Hartsfield cinematic universe. So Sarah divorces her first husband, marries his best friend, and then is allegedly caught trying to set the house on fire where her ex and his new girlfriend are babysitting. So it's a strong start. Then she divorces her second husband.
Why is her ex and his girlfriend babysitting who?
Remember last week I told you that the ex, her first husband, he had a new girlfriend. They were at a friend's house babysitting when Sarah shows up pouring gasoline on the front of the trailer like she's about to commit arson and gets caught.
Right. Sorry.
So then she joins the army, gets married again, deploys to Iraq, and they get into financial trouble together. So she treats her grandmother's death like some sort of personal Powerball victory, only to learn that she's not actually in the will. So she takes every valuable she can from the house, and the house just happens to burn down that very same night, which is, I'm sure, coincidence. Meanwhile, she's already picked up a new lover and hidden her new inherited goods in his garage. That relationship implodes into mutual restraining orders, where she allegedly fakes a pregnancy, and when she's challenged to prove it, his house burns down. The universe really has a theme going here with her.
The universe is a theme.
Next up, she moves a man into her home while her husband is stationed overseas and gets caught literally in the act when he flies halfway around the world and walks into his own bedroom. So she upgrades. She gets engaged to that guy, and they move to Wisconsin, and eventually she has to shoot him in self-defense. A perfect center of mass shot while diving over a railing. Casual. And that is why Joe Hartsfield, the husband that died of insulin overdose, that's why he left that voicemail for his mom that we talked about, saying that he showed up expecting to get shot, but he didn't. Or at least that's what investigators say. Is why he left that voicemail, because he knew that Sarah had shot David. But that's not the most ominous thing about David Bragg's shooting. The last time Sarah saw her oldest daughter Ashley before David was shot, Sarah allegedly gave Ashley the name and number of someone that Ashley was to call to come and get the two youngest children in the event that anything ever happened to Sarah. And this was a couple days before she shot David Bragg. Is your head spinning yet?
Yeah, but it's just leftover dog farts.
With all these red flags, my head is spinning like a tilt-a-whirl, and this whole saga is starting to feel less like a true crime story and more like a full-blown carnival. But don't worry, because Sarah's about to turn somebody else into the next clown. So shortly after David Bragg's death, Sarah barely hits the brakes before she's in a brand new relationship, this time with a guy that delivers propane to the house where she had shot David Bragg. And it happened so fast that it made people's heads spin. And soon enough, he became Sarah's fourth husband and moved into the house with her. And his name was David George, because apparently we're collecting Davids now like Pokemon. And while all this David drama was unfolding, Sarah was unloading her fury onto her daughter Ashley. She was livid because her ex-husband Chris Donahue had started dating someone new, and according to Ashley, that rage began right before David Bragg's death. And it burned even hotter once Chris remarried while Sarah was married to David George.
So are you saying that she leaned on her daughter for advice, or she parentified her daughter basically?
She was telling her daughter how angry she was about this other woman being in her ex-husband's life because she had to share her children with this woman and she hated her and how awful she was. And
oh, well, you can kind of see that though, right? I mean, that's sort of a normal thing that people would think.
Right, but you normally wouldn't unload it to your kid. Hopefully. So Sarah then begins withholding her two youngest kids from Chris, violating their court-ordered custody agreement. And that's when things veered straight into murder-for-hire territory. One of Sarah's daughters called her sister, Ashley, Sarah's oldest daughter, and told her that there was a plot brewing for David George to kill Chris Donahue's new wife. And she told Ashley that she heard this directly from David George himself, allegedly. Now, around this time, Sarah and David George had some kind of falling out, and she kicks him out of the house. And so Sarah tells her oldest daughter, when she's asking, why did you kick him out? Are you going to let him come back home? She said that he could come home when he holds up his end of their bargain. That deal, allegedly, was for David George to drive to Arizona, where Chris and his new wife were living, pose as a flower delivery driver, and when Chris's wife answers the door, he's supposed to shoot her with a gun Sarah provided him, driving a car that Sarah also arranged for him to have.
The hell?
Just for this.
Oh, well, that's a plan, isn't it?
And here's the kicker. David George actually showed up at their house with flowers, and it's all recorded on the doorbell camera. But Chris is the one that answered the door instead of his wife, and David just gives him the flowers and then tried to walk away. And Chris leans out the door and says, wait, is there a card? And David's like, oh, let me check the car, I'll be right back. And then he just gets in his car and takes off.
Chicken out like a boss.
So now Ashley hears about the plan from her little sister. She goes to her dad. Once Chris hears about this plan and realizes this guy's already been to their house, he obviously calls the police because there's a plot to murder his wife. And because this crossed state lines, the FBI opened a formal investigation.
Oh my goodness.
But here's the detail that made my eyebrows hit orbit. Sarah's daughter implied that killing Chris's new wife was David George's part of the bargain. So it made me wonder, what was Sarah's part of their bargain? Was it just their marriage? Well, 4 months before David George moved in with Sarah, his longtime wife suddenly died. Now, her death was originally reported as a heart valve issue, and as of now, it has never been ruled suspicious to my knowledge, but it was re-examined. But after Sarah's arrest for Joe Hartsfield's death, investigators began taking another look at that death, wondering if it might be suspicious. And then, a couple months after his wife dies, the house that David George had shared with her burns to the ground. Coincidence? Maybe. But there sure are a lot of fires in Sarah's orbit, and it raises an uncomfortable question. Could Sarah and David George have been involved maybe even before David Bragg was killed? Was there some sort of quid pro quo dynamic? A you kill mine, I'll kill yours pact?
Oh, seriously?
I don't know, I'm asking. Was there insurance fraud, or was it just revenge, or any of the above or none of the above? We'll probably never know. And despite the doorbell footage, the FBI still found insufficient evidence to ever charge Sarah or David George with anything related to a murder plot. But the investigation did have some consequences. Sarah lost custody of her children, and they were all awarded protective orders against her.
The kids get protective orders against their mom.
Yeah. And this is because after David George fled Chris's doorstep in Arizona, he is alleged to have actually called Chris Donahue and told him everything. that he had been given a pistol by Sarah, that they had specifically bought a car for the trip, that he had driven all the way there, and he changed his mind at the last second. And Chris swore this conversation happened in court records that document his claim, but later David George denied all of it and refused to cooperate with investigators, so it seems, even though I feel like he was probably in a pretty good position to have received immunity for testifying against Sarah, especially since he didn't do anything, but he clammed up, which makes me wonder, what did Sarah have on him? What exactly kept him quiet? Meanwhile, after kicking David George out, Sarah hopped onto ChristianMingle.com, because nothing soothes post-murder plot tension like finding husband number 5 on a faith-based dating site. Which brings us back to Texas, where she soon met Joe Hartsfield. And there's another whirlwind romance, and another fast marriage, and another man that becomes desperate to get out. And Joe ended up dead of an insulin overdose, which is where we began our entire story. So knowing now that Sarah Hartsfield had no legal duty to act, that she could have heard all 100 and more of Joe's critical low blood sugar alarms that went off, that under Texas law, she was technically not compelled to save him, I opened this series by asking you a question. Was Sarah Hartsfield guilty beyond any reasonable doubt? And you, as well as some of our listeners, admitted that there was some doubt there. Because by law, she would have needed to either directly administer or cause him to administer that lethal dose. But now that you've heard the whole story, all of the patterns, do you still have doubts?
I think you got juked and you still can't prove it.
Well, Sarah's 4 children testified against her. Her ex-husband testified against her. David George did not take the stand. But every path we follow through her past leads to the same repeating debris fields. Men with regrets, homes in ashes, even bodies in coffins, and a trail of chaos that's hard to explain away with words like coincidence or bad luck or happenstance. So I'll leave you with this. Is Sarah Hartsfield the victim of a lifetime of unfortunate events, or is she a psychopath that the prosecution claims that she is? So tell us what you think. Comment, email, send us your theories. Because this has been Burn, Marry, Kill, The Wicked Web of Sarah Hartsfield on Crime to Burn.
Maybe we could play some smooth jazz.
I got a dead cat in the root cellar.
Oh, you're not coping well.
I decided to drink a beer. I thought that might help.
I think it might too. She's not suffering in the root cellar. She's in the lap of Jesus, just having a great day.
I remember when she was still a kitten, and she hated everyone except me. And my dad was at my house, and he was trying to get her to trust him, and he was feeding her treats, and she would come up to him and get the treats out of his hand, but the whole time she was growling. So she would just come up and like, while she's chewing up these treats. I feel normal now.
You're normal. Good job, Normie.
I don't know that I'm normal. I did write an entire novel, accidentally.
I don't really think that was an accident.
Well, what the deal
it's
was
not like
is,
you slipped on a banana peel and out came a novel.
what happened was I couldn't get it out of my head. I had this idea for a novel and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I thought the only way I'm going to get anything productive done is if I like outline my ideas and take down the notes of the things, slamming around in my head, and then maybe like write the intro, and then I'll feel like I've started it and I'll be able to focus on something else. And the next thing you know, I've written the whole thing because it just happened.
You ever wonder what bark is made of?
It's a little spicy. It's a good thing nobody can see the hand gestures.
Being assaulted by the atmosphere.
What an unpredictable
What an unpredictable quotation you just made for yourself. How hard was he? Like a Hearst shifter and a 65 Charger.
And leave a comment or written review.
Read a review about that. Your audience can go into the pants.
Now.
Are you pulling your audience into someone's pants?
Yeah.
Against their will?
Let's slip back into Brian Altus's pants where we last left Sarah Hartsfield and see what fresh hell she was stitching together next.
Step on this so many times. Why did you write that?
Because it was funny. Now let's slip back into Brian Altus's pants.
Like a slug. Like a slippery seal of pants. No dude should describe anything as feeling good to be seen. I said what I said. Were there suspicious smells?
I did. You know what? He didn't go into any smells, and it wasn't scratch and sniff TV.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
We need more of that.
Hang on, I have to burp again.
If you ever look at the diagrams of like the Great Pyramid, and they have the shafts going up to the Queen's Chamber.
Talk to me more about shafts.
Mm-hmm. And then it's got that weird rock right there.
Tell me more about hard things.
That's a red flag. I'm not comfortable with this. Jesus Christ.
Next, she moves on to a man. Nope. I'm sorry.
I'm going to move on to a man after this.
You've got counterweight.
Counterweight?
Yeah, to keep balanced.
Are you checking on my balls?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Nice.
It's not going well.
Nice. No, I caught on. I think the way it came out, it sounded like it had a D at the beginning of it, like Dominus.
Dominus.
Yeah. And although it's hot, I'm not sure.
Maybe my next book will be called Dominus.
You're welcome. I was thinking like a balloon animal. God, this is dark.
Are you listening?
No.
Okay. I'm going to use a $250,000 handbag to carry around my $10. Like, what?
And I was just curious, like, what is this handbag? Is it made of unicorn scrotum? You better be able to pull whole ass lamps out of it like Mary Poppins.
Right, exactly. I don't want lamps, though. I want something more practical.
Whatever, like...
Nachos.
Something that doesn't seem like it should fit in there should come out that bitch.
Do you want to give him a sneak peek of the...
Ball sack?
Steve-isode jingle?
Shake your booty.
I love it. I am forever grateful for the snacks that I've received, and I do like to be held and be loved and believe and be Steve.
What the fuck have we done here?
Chaos. We are committing chaos upon the world. Maybe I'm having a hot flash. I'm not extortion-y. Are you trying to cast a spell? I think you gotta find the right spot to tickle it.
I like when shit works. Wow, there's more words in there than I thought. This podcast episode may cause dizziness, nausea, or an overwhelming desire to scream, "What is wrong with you people?" If red flags persist for more than 4 hours, please consult literally anyone except Harrowing. Hartsfield.
I like Hartsfield. That's good.
Please consult literally anyone except Hartsfield. This episode is brought to you by deep regret. Try not to get some. That was hot. That was uncouth. You're without couth. Thus concludes this episode of Crime to Burn. Thanks for joining us on this weird adventure into whatever this is.
Crime to Burn is a production of Crime to Burn, LLC, where we light fires in your brain and not your buildings. All rights reserved. Still spiritually parched after this episode? It's okay, Steve believes in cross-pollination. Here's a trailer for a show we think deserves to infiltrate your ear holes, in a good way. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review before you go. Steve is watching.
Love a good mystery that leaves you wanting more? Check out my podcast. Hi, I'm Kadra, the host of Perplexity, a Mystery Podcast. I tell tales every single week that have left me perplexed. You'll hear true crime cases, mysterious disappearances, learn about cults, hear baffling sightings of cryptids, chilling paranormal encounters, and even dark and weird history. I release new episodes every Wednesday, and you can listen anywhere podcasts are available. I'm also on Patreon, and you can even watch me on YouTube. Perplexity, a Mystery Podcast. Stories that will leave you perplexed.